Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. And welcome back to I think the meat and potatoes of this channel, the one that really seems to really drive a lot of the viewership, conference realignment. It's rearing its head again. Recently I put one out there how, Florida State and Clemson have stated that they're pretty much staying put for the year. SEC saying their doors are closed. Big Ten saying they're staying pat. Big 12 still looking because there's always been rumors about Florida State and Clemson going to Big Ten, and then I continue to have to squash that, and I don't know why they keep going there. Clickbait, possibly. Definitely individuals that don't know the Big Ten very well and the requirements they have to join that conference. But now there's been other speculations of possibly another 10 programs looking for new homes. And if that's the case, if enough programs get together to nullify the 2036 deadline contract of the media rights deal, you can see another implosion of a conference. Now, you've seen this video before. I talk about the demise of Conference USA, the Big 12. Didn't talk about the Pac-12 implosion. Got about half of the schools being added to the American right. I picked, Oklahoma, Texas going. So I've been about 500, it seems like, or just below average when it comes to predicting the landscape, whatnot. You even throw in, I said that Jacksonville State and Sam Houston would never join Conference USA at the time frame they did. So, mine's just the opinion of a old man just thinking that he knows best, knowing that it may not. I can get lucky in one day and predict it correctly. Other days, I'm way off. I was way off on Sam Houston, Jacksonville State. I didn't think they were ready at that time, but they're kind of, made their stance kind of known. Jacksonville State a little bit better. Now we have Delaware, Missouri State coming into the FBS in 2025. Kennesaw State will make its debut in 2024. But that's a different topic. I'll look at the other alignments of conferences with those two now being added to the FBS level, and I'll kind of look at those later. But this is a take on a possible, even probable implosion ACC. You already know Florida State Clemson's got their court cases. There's already been rumors of North Carolina and Virginia Tech starting looking elsewhere. And if they go, the other three will jump in wholeheartedly. They would go after the ACC, no questions asked. It is just what size of boat do they bring? Now for the Big Ten, I think 20 would probably be. I think 20 is the ideal in this scenario. I don't think 20 is an ideal conference size, anyways. I think 14 is more advantageous for conferences. Because once you start grabbing 20, 24, and higher numbers, now you're looking within the playoff win your conference, just to win your conference due to another playoff. I said the Big Ten, let's start there. And we all know a Big Ten requirement, you have to be AAU a member before joining. So that leaves you Stanford, Cal, Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, and Pittsburgh. Those are the only programs from the ACC that they will go after. Now, they may try to get Texas A&M to switch because they're not too happy with Texas joining them in the SEC. Maybe try to coerce Missouri to leave as well. But those two, I doubt, will leave the SEC. For mere fact that SEC makes a little bit more money, I think they'll stay there just for the money. Of those programs listed, how many does the Big Ten take? Do they go to 20 or go to 24? And then no matter which way you're looking at it, you're doing a 4-divisional setup and create your own conference tournament for the conference champion, much like the basketball. Now you're going to do it in football. So how you break this down? And for me, I think the Big Ten will actually go to 24. Just to try to I don't want to say even things out, but ensure that they garner the programs that they really wish. Because you look out west, of course you have, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. There's a few AU programs out west. I mean, some of them are in the Big 12, like Utah, Arizona State. But you also got Cal and Stanford from the ACC. Now, they can grab those two, and they can renew the rivalry with USC, UCLA. So that way they ensure they all play each other. Continue their matchups against Oregon and Washington. Now you get the Bay to go along with LA and Seattle and quasi Portland. And with that aspect, I think they will go that way. If they go with those two out west, that means they're going to go 24. Now, if they don't go Cal Stanford and they go elsewhere, then things will change up. Another caveat, Notre Dame, the Irish. I've always stated they belong in the Big Ten. However, I think in this scenario, they will not be added because there's no need for them. They'll still have a shot into the playoffs. So if they can get a high enough ranking, a record, whatnot, they can still make the playoff. And their money is equivalent to what the Big Ten's making right now, so they're happy where they're at, which irks me to no end. And in the sense of basketball and the ACC gone, they'll probably end up going to the Big East. Then it leaves you, who else do you grab? And I think their targets right away, North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia. In previous videos, I've mentioned these three programs before, and I've been targeted by other Big Ten fans. It's like they'll never do this. Never say never. Do you think they would really gone after Rutgers and Maryland, or USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington? I never saw those things coming. Plus, if you grab those three, that gets you into the Mid-Atlantic. That gives you into the Tobacco Road. Gives you into recruitment territory. Basketball programs. Because you got to think there's more sports to worry about. Yes, basketball is a distant second in the money train. But still garner huge revenue for basketball. Especially when you bring in North Carolina and Duke, whose football programs are no pushovers. Now, Virginia is a bit of a stretch. Their football program has been on the decline. Their basketball program, after winning the national championship a few years ago, still hanging around in there. I have a feeling they might be start to see a slight decline as well. But you need to keep the rivalry between Duke and North Carolina alive, and a rivalry in the South's oldest rivalry between North Carolina and Virginia alive. You bring those three in, who is going to be the last school added? And there is where you start having a conundrum. Once again, Notre Dame's name popped up, but I have a feeling they'll stay independent. Pittsburgh shows up, but I think they have their eyes set somewhere else. Georgia Tech will give you a top 10 media market, but they play second fiddle almost to Georgia, who's right down the road in Athens. Miami stretches your footprint to South Beach, another nationally recognized program that's seen some better days and has some highlights of returning to said glory. Plus, aspiring basketball squad, Georgia Tech, exact same way. So which way you go? I'm leaning towards Georgia Tech on this one, but I can also see Miami making the jump as well to keep things to go after programs that are nationally recognized, like Nebraska, USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. And you bring someone like North Carolina at Duke, and then you bring in Miami. I mean, these are nationally recognized programs. But I have a feeling they'll go Georgia Tech. Don't stretch too far. They already got a long stretch between the West Coast and Lincoln, Nebraska, and then Lincoln, Nebraska to Rutgers in New Jersey. So this conference is a huge footprint, so I don't see many different aspects in terms of where they will wind up. Now for the SEC, they're definitely going to look at programs that are close to where they're at. When the SEC expands, they just stretch out the footprint a little bit at a time. I mean, when they went to 12, Arkansas, South Carolina. The 14, Missouri and Texas. 16, they went to Oklahoma. They really wanted to get North Carolina and Virginia. They'll also be courting North Carolina and Duke and Virginia to join them as well. But those three may go with the Big Ten because the Big Ten has a little bit higher academic standard than SEC. But almost all of the SEC programs are R1 research institutions. So there's not a dig at SEC in terms of that, but the Big Ten is all AU accredited. Only a handful in the SEC are that: Florida, Texas, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Mizzou, or to name a few. So if they want to get to North Carolina, Virginia, that's NC State, Virginia Tech. Two great mid-card programs. Right now, Virginia Tech is suffering a little bit. NC State was looking like to be the next team to kind of take over the ACC. Hasn't really transpired very well, but also gives you the Raleigh market to really drive into that wedge of the research triangle, because you also got North Carolina and Duke are in the Big Ten. So go ahead and do that matchup between those those two conferences with that location, as well as Atlanta. And then I have a feeling Clemson and Florida State would also finish it off. And I was like, why would they go to South Carolina and Florida? Well, why would they go to Texas when you have Texas A&M? You go out because of the programs. Two major programs, nationally recognized. Clemson, a little bit of downswing, but I have a feeling they'll bounce back. Florida State starting to show signs of bouncing back. So definitely two programs. Regardless, I think Florida State, Clemson will be excellent additions to the conference, bringing their rivalry games with South Carolina and Florida as a conference game instead of an out-conference matchup. Gives them extra games outside of conference. I think it'll be a easy thing to do. I think SEC will just go to 20 period, and that is it. They'll stop there. Be happy with that aspect. And I don't see much of anything else happening with that particular conference. Now comes to the Big 12. The Big 12 has a huge footprint from the four corners, the Central Florida to West Virginia. And that's a big stretch. So who would they add from the remnants of the ACC? How far would they go? That's a huge question. I think right away, if Miami's out there, Miami's target number one. That makes you double up in Florida. I think it'd be a easy thing to do. Louisville, they're still out there. Another easy target to grab. Gives you the keg and nails battle with Cincinnati. Plus, you bring in Louisville basketball in with Kansas and Baylor basketball. Yes, please. Pittsburgh, a definite must that makes sure the backyard brawl becomes an annual matchup once again. We need that in our lives. That takes them to 19. However, where you go from there? I think BC is going to be left out of this equation. I think it's going to be a battle between Syracuse and Wake Forest who gets in. And they're going to go more with better basketball prowess. I think Syracuse edges Wake. Football-wise, I think right now Wake kind of edges Syracuse. So they kind of even each other out. Weight gives you a halfway point between Pittsburgh and Miami. Gets you in that Mid-Atlantic region, trying to get into that SEC territory. Syracuse gives you upstate New York. So there's you look at it, they all have their pros, cons, their strengths and weaknesses, and trying to figure out which one would really resonate with the Big 12. And I've battled back and forth with this to figure out exactly which one would be the most advantageous to join a Big 12. If the Big 12 go to 20 or 24, I have a feeling they'll go to 20, and the fourth program will probably be the Orange of Syracuse. Now, they could go 24, go ahead, grab BC, Wake, Oregon State, Washington State, and really solidify the rest of the power conference schools with the three, just leaving SMU and Notre Dame out, with Notre Dame remain independent. I think in any scenario, SMU is not going to be added. SMU is probably going to crawl back to the American and rejoin them. And that means the American then probably then grab UConn, welcome them back in as a football only member. They get them to the 16 mark in football, 14 basketball, because UConn just there for football. So basketball's all in the Big East. Army and Navy's only there for football. Everything else in the Patriot League. So they can leave them with Wichita State. This is just a long, drawn out, me rambling about the ACC implosion and where schools could possibly go, and the independent aspects of a lot of the other things. Because you can see, Notre Dame, BC, once again, implement their annual matchups. It's just one possible scenario. On a level of 10, I'll probably give it a 5.5 possibility of this happening. All depends on ACC. If they can find ways to renegotiate their contract to give them a better payment scale, because right now they are trailing behind immensely. Pretty much everyone's making twice as much. And that's going to hamper recruitment. So they need to find ways to boost their numbers, to give them a good point where they can entice the 5-star, 4-star recruits to their programs and siphon away from, they'll have a Boston kid who is a 5-star recruit get siphoned to Alabama instead of going to Boston College. Something along those lines. And the only way for them to do that is to renegotiate the ACC deal, but ESPN won't do it, and I have a feeling they won't because they spent a lot of money elsewhere. Who's going to step up? And that's part of the problems with college athletics today, is too much money makes a huge impact on how these conferences are formed. But that's a rant for a different day. I don't get too far into that one. But like I said, this is just an extreme version with the Big Ten getting to 24 just because of how things kind of play out. I have a feeling they would stay at 20 if they can grab like Notre Dame or Miami. I think they would be happy there, or maybe just grab North Carolina or Virginia. I think that aspect, they would just grab those and just hang tight there. But if things play out what they do, I think 24 is it. I think that's going to be the limit of any of these conferences, is 24. Once you get beyond that, then you get urban programs that maybe shouldn't be considered. Start to get more of a attention and focus to bring into the fold. The Big 12, I think I did have initially go to 24, and then I backed out when I was recording this video and put them to 20. Just because it's, I think, a little bit more feasible for them to do that than to get to 24, really stretch the footprint way too far. Get to 20, really solidify a good mid-card football programs, maybe a nationally recognized in Miami, and concentrate more on kind of the basketball aesthetics of the whole thing. Yes, I know basketball is a distant second, but it's still a moneymaker regardless. And then I think SEC, if the ACC implodes, we'll probably just grab the 4 and call it quits there. Unless they can grab maybe Oklahoma State. Notice the question mark there. Also, it also depends if Nebraska stays in the Big Ten. They don't get booted. I mean, that's a possibility as well. But those are scenarios for a different day. Definitely want to see a list of candidates if Nebraska gets booted from the Big Ten. Right down in the comments below. Definitely one of those scenarios I got going through my twisted old mind. And if you like what I'm doing, you stick around to the end. Go hit that thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and just mix it up in the comments below. Really helps boost the algorithm. Gets this out to the masses. Gets more people to come in and see the ramblings and stutterings of an old man about just random things, especially dealing with college football and football in general. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help, you can subscribe. It really helps get this channel up out of the depths of mediocrity, hopefully, and get it to more of a national presence. Every subscriber is beneficial. I love you all guys for viewing my work. No matter if you don't subscribe or not, just viewing it helps me out immensely. Subscription doesn't cost you a dime. All you do is hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn on your notifications. I'll let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And with that, I wish you adieu, and I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.